On August 21, 2004, a typical summer evening quietly descended upon the suburbs of Chicago. The sky displayed a mix of orange and purple hues, lending an unusual beauty to the industrial outskirts of the city. Jack, a young documentary filmmaker passionate about exploring hidden corners of the city, was with his team filming in this abandoned warehouse area. Their mission was to capture the overlooked moments of beauty within the city. As the night grew darker, the tranquility of the industrial area was broken by the faint glow of factory lights and distant traffic noises. Jack and his team packed up their equipment, preparing to leave. They chatted by the side of the parking lot, discussing the day's filming accomplishments. The team's laughter and relaxed atmosphere contrasted sharply with the desolate surroundings. Just then, a set of red lights suddenly appeared in the sky, arranged in an unconventional formation, slowly moving in the low horizon. Jack and his team members stopped their conversation, staring in amazement at the sky. The red lights formed a perfect triangle, made no sound, and glided silently across the night sky. "Oh, my God!" Jack frantically searched in his pocket, but his heart sank. His phone was still in the car where he had left the equipment. He urgently shouted for the other team members to record this scene, but by the time they realized, the unidentified flying object had vanished into the depths of the night sky, leaving only a group of bewildered and excited young people. The team members excitedly discussed what this could be, with some mentioning UFO sightings in the news, and others half seriously, half jokingly suggesting it could be an alien spacecraft. Jack had questions swirling in his mind, but couldn't help feeling a sense of excitement. This was going to be an unforgettable night. They then drove back to the city, discussing what they had just witnessed. Jack had no idea that this night held even more incredible surprises in store for him. On the way back to the city, Jack and his team continued discussing the mysterious red lights. The car was filled with a mixture of curiosity and a relaxed atmosphere. They even joked about what they would do if aliens came to Earth and wanted to crossbreed with humans. Jack joined in the discussion, half-jokingly saying that if aliens came to find him, he might be willing to give it a try, which elicited laughter from everyone. However, as the convoy entered the bustling area of the city, the wonder and adventure of the night were gradually replaced by the lights of the streets and the noise of the crowd. Jack's excitement and curiosity also settled, replaced by the trivialities of everyday life. Upon arriving at his apartment, Jack felt a bit tired. He decided to take a short rest and then start editing the video footage from that day's shoot. The apartment was quiet, with only the sound of the computer fan and occasional vehicle noises from outside. Jack sat in front of the computer and began the editing work. Suddenly, the computer screen turned blue, and then the entire system crashed. Jack stared at the blue screen in surprise, trying to restart the computer, but it was completely unresponsive. He felt a sense of unease. This computer was a recent high-end purchase and had never experienced such issues. He got up to check around, trying to identify the problem. It was then that he noticed other appliances in the apartment also behaving abnormally. The television screen displayed the same blue screen, even though the TV wasn't plugged in. Jack attempted to use his phone to document everything, but to his astonishment, his phone also suddenly displayed a blue screen. Every appliance in the apartment seemed to be caught in an unexplainable chaos. Jack had an ominous feeling, and he tried to open the apartment door for help, but it was locked tightly and wouldn't budge. His heart raced, and an inexplicable sense of panic began to creep over him. Trapped inside his own apartment, Jack began to feel a deep sense of unease. He tried to calm down and think about the possible reasons for this series of bizarre events. The computer, the TV, and even the phone displaying a blue screen, coupled with the locked door, all seemed to defy rational explanation. Jack paced back and forth in the apartment, trying to find any way to reach the outside world. He walked to the window, hoping to call for help through it, but found that the window wouldn't open either. The feeling of isolation and helplessness began to suffocate him. Just then, the apartment suddenly plunged into darkness. The only light came from the mysterious blue glow seeping in from outside the window. Jack stood in the darkness, his heart racing, and it seemed like his own rapid breathing filled his ears. He fumbled around, trying to find a flashlight or anything that could emit light. But in the process, he noticed that every corner of the apartment began to emit a faint blue glow. These glows came from the indicator lights of various appliances, which should have been red or green under normal circumstances. It was all too surreal. Jack's fear reached its peak. He realized that this wasn't just a simple electrical malfunction. These supernatural phenomena reminded him of the unidentified flying object he had witnessed earlier. Jack tried his best to stay rational and find a solution to the problem. He picked up the phone to seek help, only to find that the phone had also lost its signal. He felt completely isolated, cut off from the outside world. In this extreme loneliness and fear, Jack began to doubt his own perception. He wasn't sure if his thoughts were playing tricks on him or if something truly extraordinary was happening. His state of mind oscillated between fear and rationality as he attempted to find any possible explanation. Struggling in despair and loneliness, Jack began to feel a sense of unreality. He sat on the floor, looking around, and the constantly flickering blue lights seemed to mock his helplessness. The fear in his heart was replaced by an indescribable sense of defeat. He tried to calm himself down, but the inner panic spread like wildfire. Just then, he felt that the air in the apartment seemed to become heavier and more oppressive. Jack looked up at the window, and through the curtains, a blue light was shining in from outside. It was as if something was approaching. His heart raced, and an instinctual fear kept him away from the window. Jack felt helpless, and he began to shout loudly, hoping that someone would hear his voice. In this state of extreme panic, Jack's thoughts began to become confused. He was no longer sure if what he was experiencing was real or an illusion, or if his fear of the unidentified flying object was playing tricks on him. He felt his sanity gradually slipping away, with fear and confusion intertwining in his mind. Under this extreme mental pressure, Jack suddenly felt everything go dark, his consciousness blurred, and the whole world seemed to be spinning. He struggled to hold on to the last thread of consciousness, but in the end, he was consumed by darkness and fear. When Jack opened his eyes again, sunlight streamed through the curtains, casting light on his face. He felt a strong headache and weakness throughout his body. To his surprise, he found himself lying naked in bed. He quickly sat up, feeling confused and uneasy. Looking around, he realized that the apartment had returned to its usual appearance, with appliances functioning normally, and everything seemed to be as usual. But Jack was clear in his heart that everything that happened last night was no hallucination. His clothes were scattered on the living room floor, which further convinced him that the terrifying experience of last night had indeed occurred. He tried hard to recall the events of last night, but could only remember the blue lights and a sense of helplessness. He got up, put on his clothes, and attempted to piece together these chaotic memories. Jack felt extremely weak, as if he had undergone a severe physical and mental ordeal. He began to wonder if the jokes about aliens and the sighting of the unidentified flying object were truly related to the terrifying night he had experienced. Despite his doubts and unease, Jack decided to confide in his colleagues and friends about everything. Their reactions varied, with some expressing concern, others attributing it to hallucinations caused by work stress and fatigue. However, some jokingly suggested that perhaps those aliens had indeed taken him up on his earlier offer to borrow seats.